I'm Dave with Dave and Sonya, Michigan, and today we're going to raise a countertop in the kitchen section of our trailer. So there's two 3-foot file cabinet sections here, and I have drawers, so they'll be like kitchen drawers, so they're narrower, they're only 15 inches a piece. But we got those from another set of file cabinets. The colors don't match, so I'm going to have to paint those. So let me show you the drawers on top of the countertop, and kind of give you an idea of what we're going to do. Let me turn on the lights. I just installed these lights too, so this side, I just finished the lights, and then there's a strip of electrical outlets along the back wall. So I'll show you that here in a little bit. But that really adds a lot of difference in here. I also have lights in the bathroom section now in the front of the trailer. And they're adjustable, but that adds a lot of light on this side. So next we're going to raise the countertop. We're going to put drawers in. Let me show you the drawers. These are the 4 drawers, and they're spaced out equally. So I have about 2.5 inches of gap between each of the drawers and here on the end. So I bought some wood yesterday. I'll have to rip them by a little bit because I need them to be about 2¼ inches the wood, but they come in 2.5 inch widths. I'll run those on the table saw. We'll start framing this in. The woodwork will be similar to what we have in the rest of the trailer. I use poplar wood. I have the drawers out now. And then I gotta take the countertop off, and I gotta unscrew the cabinets from the floor and from the wall. Both of these cabinets are going to have to come out 1 inch because these drawers are deeper than what the file cabinets were. We have that room. You can see down here, you have about 2 inches down here. So when I bring that out, it'll end up looking a little bit more flush down here. It'll narrow the aisleway a little bit, but I have plenty of space in here. So let me remove the cabinets next. I have the countertop off, and I have the drawers out. Move the screws so it's not connected to the wall or the floor anymore. And I have these boards. So this board, there's 2 of them here and 2 of them in the back. This one will go on the bottom, and then this one will go on the top of the drawer. So you only see the 3/4 inch side on the front. And then I have the 1x3s, which are 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to cut them down to 2¼ inches, and they'll go up along the sides of the drawer. So the drawers will actually be flush. So there's 4 drawers, so there'll be 5 of these pieces. So that's what I'm going to go cut next. I have all these pieces cut to 2¼ inches. And then I have all the drawers on here. And I have an 1/8 inch spacing between the piece of wood and the drawer. I probably would have liked to gone less, but the way the fit is of these cabinets, there's quite a big gap between each of the doors on the file cabinets. So the 1/8 inch gap should simulate the gaps that I have in all the other cabinets. So what I had to do on this corner, you can see I had to make this other little cut here. And what I want to do is I'm going to end up using this big board, turn it sideways. It's too long to turn sideways right now, but I'll simulate it with this piece. So this is going to go behind it. So I want the front to butt up right up against this piece, but I didn't want the top or the bottom to be seen to be that wide, like underneath here. So I cut it so there's a little piece here, 3/4 inch, which is just as wide as this piece, so that when I butt that up against it, I'll have that 3/4 inch space down here. That piece, that's all you'll see. You won't see the big piece sticking out. So I need to cut that for the top piece, cut that same notch in, and then we can dowel and screw the fronts, all the front pieces together. and then I'll work on the back and the sides. So I'm going to go cut that piece outside the top. We'll cut that notch in it. Then I got to cut them to length because they're just a little longer than 6 feet. And then we'll do the doweling and screwing. So I marked each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I also have these right where I want them. So I put a line on here so I know exactly where they go. And I didn't want to put the line in the center because I'm probably going to be drawing a line in the center once I take these down. Because I think I'm going to put 2 dowels and then I'll put 1 screw. So the screw will go right in the center and the 2 dowels will go offset to either side. And then on the last one, this is how much I need to cut off. I only marked it on the bottom one. And then when I go and cut the top one, I'll just make it the same width as the bottom one. So I'll take this out and I'll mark the top one the same as the bottom one. So I must not have hit record on this one section of the video. So I'm going to come back and touch up on this. So I'm going to show how to use the dowel jig. So in the last clips I showed how I had an angle line over here just so I could make sure it was lined up when I had the drawers on the cabinets. And I said I was going to come back and put a line in the center. It doesn't have to be in the center, but I just found the center of the board, put a line in the top piece. And the key is that when you have it where you want it, that you need to make sure you get this line and this line in line with each other. And then what you do is when you put this on, that center line, the center long line here, goes on that line you just put. And then when you clamp it in place, and then when you drill a hole, the 2 holes will be on these other 2 lines. So you can see those other 2 lines. So that's in line with the 2 dowel holes you're going to drill. So this will be the drill bit. It's got a shoulder on it. So when I drill it through, that's how much of the hole will be drilled into the wood. And that's just a little bit more than half the dowel. I can adjust that if I get longer dowels or shorter dowels. But the way to make sure you get the holes for dowels drilled in this board in the same spot as you do in this board is making sure you get that center line of that jig lined up on this pencil mark also. So now these 2 holes will be in line with these 2 holes. So if you're off a little bit, your dowels will be off a little bit and you won't have it where you want it. So because I have 2 lines on this side and I only have 1 on this side when I do my center line up here, I knew that these 2 lines meant the bottom of the board. I've glued all the dowels in on both sides of these upright pieces. So they're glued and hammered in. I have all of the ones that had the 2 lines. Those are the bottoms. So this is the bottom board. So I have them all labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All the ones with the 2 lines are pointing down. This board will be the one going top. I have all the screw holes drilled in all of the boards. So I'm going to put some glue a little bit in the holes. Then I'll press this in, put a screw in. I'll do that all on the bottom boards, and then I'll go back and put the top board on. Put glue in all the holes, press it on, put the screws in all the holes. I can't do this piece, put this on top, screw it in, because then I won't be able to get this one in. So I got to do the whole bottom row first. I'll come back and put the top on. So this is all screwed and glued together in dowels. Got all the drawers in there. Looks good. The gap here looks big because it's just setting on the bottom. So once I space that up, that should make that centered. So there's a little gap here. Same on that side. So next I got a 1-inch piece I'm going to put back here. I'll make it come up just as high as this one. And then I'll cut this board that'll fit between those two pieces. And then this will mount to this piece on the bottom, and then this one will mount to it up on the top. And I have a couple spacers to put between those two in the back, just so I make sure I have some support for the counter on the back. So I have the two back pieces cut, this back corner and then the far right corner. I got those cut. Those will go all the way to the floor. I will screw those into the wall after it's attached to the rest of the woodwork. I'll leave the cabinet where it is. I'll screw it to the wall, what you can see. Then I'll pull the metal cabinet out and then I'll screw it again to the wall down lower, closer to the floor. I have a third piece, which was the remaining piece. I'll position that up high like these two are currently, but it just won't go all the way to the floor. But I'll attach it to the wall also, so it'll support the countertop in the middle. It just won't go to the floor. And then this is probably the trickiest part. So this was I needed 7.5, so 1x8 is 7.25. So I actually had to get a 1x12. Those are an expensive piece. Plus I can only get a 6 foot long. So this is all I needed. So I think it was $50. So I cut this to 7.5. It's 17.5 long. And then the way I'm going to fasten it is I'm going to fasten it so that the screws are hidden and you don't see the screws coming out. It'd be easy just to send a screw through here into this board, but then you'd see the screw. So this is a Kreg jig. This one's actually model R3. So it's got a spot, you put the clamp on it, and it's the same clamp that actually come with this Kreg kit. But that was the clamp I was using for the dowels. It's just got a big flat piece on it that fastens inside here, just slides in and snaps in. This is set up, you can use it for 1/2 inch wood, 3/4 inch wood, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2. You just slide these gray pieces out. But what it does is it mounts on here against these edges, up against the wood, and then these are guides for the drill bit, and it's on an angle. So when you mount it on there, and I put these in the center, it puts 2 holes here. And this is the drill bit. So the drill bit will go through there and kind of see the hole that I would put in there. So it basically counterbores the head into the wood, so the head's not sticking out. There's a little small pilot as a guide when you put the screw in there. And they sell special screws. So for this board on this one, I'll have to use 1.25 inch long. And it's for hardwoods. It's got a square drive to it, so you use a square bit to drive it in. But the hole doesn't come all the way through yet. Actually, it just started to poke through. When I screw that in, it'll screw in to the front here. So those screws will screw into the front here. Those 2 screws. But I also put 2 holes in this bottom piece and then 2 holes in this top piece. So those will actually screw, these 2 will screw to the front. But then this one will screw into the bottom here. And then I got 2 more that will screw into the top. So that should make that pretty strong there. I also did 2 that are going to go into this thicker board in the back. And then I'll have 2 more just like this going across. Not going to be on top, they'll just be here on the side. But I'll do the same thing. I'll put those hidden screws in there, and then I'll run those in here so I don't see the screw through here. When I screw this to the board that goes across, I'm just going to put the screws behind it and screw it in. I could do the screws hidden too, but I don't really think I need to. So that'll be the next steps. I'm going to get the sides on, and I'll cut the back pieces. I'll put the holes in those for the screws, and I'll come back and show you where I'm at. So I have the main part of the framework done. Let me give you a closer look. I made a little change. I said I was going to put these screws in the back, but I chose to just put them from the front. It really isn't any harder. So I had these 2 screw into the side to help hold it. These 2 screw into the back. And then I also did the same thing up top. So nothing comes in from the back side. I did that also in the middle, from the bottom to the top. And then on the other end, I also did 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. And I didn't need a whole piece of wood back here. I just took one of my small scrap pieces, and I only put one screw to hold it. But then I put 2 down from the top on both sides, just to draw it in tight. This will give me a little bit more airflow here, so it's not tight up against the fridge, which will be the same amount of airflow that I had before I put this raised shelf in, so shouldn't make any difference there. When the drawer slides in back here, it hits. So I got a mark here. I have to cut some of this out and go up by halfway, come over, and then go in a 1/2 inch and come up. So I gotta take this back off, and then that back off. Cut those for clearance for the drawers. And then I'll start laying boards between each set of drawers. Then I gotta have an upright. And then so on that upright, this is for this side. So a piece laying this way, then I'll have an upright coming. This will screw into the upright, and that's what the roller rides on. But to figure out exactly where that goes, and I might put a shim underneath it just to help hold it so it doesn't slide up and down. So I'll work on that next after I cut clearance in those back pieces. So I have all the wood cut now. Everything is screwed in. I'm working on putting these pieces in now, which is what the drawers will roll on. So these are the rails that were in the file cabinet. There was an all metal file cabinet. So these just pop off. There's slots, so that slides in and then it sets down on this one so then it doesn't pop out. So I drilled holes into those 2 little tabs so that's not in the trackway where the roller's got to go. So that's where my screws will go. So then on here, so this will be for the second drawer in. This is for this first drawer. Those little tabs I have notched out here. So those tabs will sit in there. but I also put screws underneath the metal piece, and I can use those screws as fine adjustments to raise and lower the drawer to get it to fit good in the space to try to center it. So I have the first drawer in there, the middle drawer here, and I already had to tweak some stuff, so I had to adjust the spacing side to side. So what I did was pull this screw out, I drilled the hole bigger, and then I was able to move this piece of wood a little bit. So that's adjustment I would have to do that. And then I got these screws that I can adjust up and down. And what works out good for right now, when the trailer is level and it's what holds the drawer closed, there's this little notch right here. And that's where the wheel sits. I got the wheel for the other side. So the wheel sits in that little notch. There's not much of a notch, so it's not going to be enough to hold me in while we're driving down the road. But I want to get it to where this roller is forward and backwards just enough that it sits in that notch. And what I have is this is in between the two drawers. But I want this to, the wood to butt up against the metal here, so when you push it in, it doesn't go in too far. So it butts up against this, and then when that's there, I want that roller to be in that groove. So what I had to do on the first drawer was I needed to position this further in, so I had to go cut one more blades width on the table saw to scooch that in a little bit. So there's going to be a lot of tweaking to get the last 3 cabinets in, so I'm going to play around with doing those. I should be able to finish that all up tonight, and then tomorrow I'll work on sanding the metal here, the front, and get it ready for paint, primer and paint. I was able to find some spray paint in the can. It's almond that matches the file cabinets underneath. So we'll see. There's a pretty good match. I had 2 different color paints, and I spray painted them on some sample pieces, and I held them up to the file cabinet, and both colors looked different than the file cabinets until I put it up next to it. What was funny was each color, one was an ivory and the other one was an almond, but when I would hold it up close, they both looked like the cabinets. So I was thinking I wanted to find a color that was between the two. So I went to Menards and found some almond spray paint. Based on the cap, it looked like it was between those 2 colors. So we'll see tomorrow. Hopefully it matches pretty good. If not, I might have to find some other paint, or worst case, spray paint the lower section. If I do that, then I need to do the other side. Maybe it's just off slightly, it won't be that noticeable. So I'm going to continue to tweak. That's going to take quite a bit of time. After I paint it, then we'll start mounting it to the walls, slide the cabinets back underneath, mount the cabinets to the floor. I'll show you that when I get there. I have all the drawers adjusted and they're all in. This is what it looks like before sanding. So sanding is the next step. The gaps look pretty even. After I paint it, I'll show you a closer up view of the gaps. I'll sand the metal. I have primer. And that'll prime the metal, I'll prime the wood. And then I have the paint. I'm set up so I can start spray painting. I got a couple hours before it rains. Here I have my drawers. I'm going to primer it. And then I have the paint. there's the primer in the back and the almond paint in the front. So I have this painted now. I let it dry for a couple hours outside. It's just starting to get ready to rain, so I brought it in, let it finish curing in here. I think it's 24 hours for full cure. But I can still mount it to the wall. I just will make sure I don't touch the front. So these 3 uprights that I have, I'm going to screw those into the wall where I have access to them right now. Then I'll slide the cabinet out, and then I'll put more screws in down lower. So I'll have the additional support there. Then I'll slide the bottom back in, and I'll screw it to the floor, and then I'll screw it to those uprights. And then we'll put the drawers in it. I'll show you the finished product. I'll have to put the top back on, but we'll come back and I'll show you that when I'm done. So this is the finished product. Colors are a little bit off, but I think it looks pretty good. The countertop here was the top that come on the original file cabinets. So they had the electrical holes for the wires in both corners. So it also looks funny, but when we have a Berkey water filter in this corner, it covers that up. And we have an air fryer we put in that corner and covers it up. So it's not really noticeable. But these are the drawers. So that's them all the way out. So it's not ball bearing slides, but they have a roller on the front edge on the inside, and then on the back of the drawers there's a roller also. There's a little notch in here that falls on top of the roller when it's in all the way. So they're not really easy to move, so I don't think we're going to have to lock these like we do the bottoms. These are ball bearing slides, so they come out real easy. But I don't think we're going to have to lock these in place. I might put a magnet back here to hold on to the front if I need to. Got all 4 drawers. So we'll take another look. Let me spin you around. So you can see the spacing. Did pretty good. They're flush with the front. I was able to get the spacing pretty centered. There's some play in the drawers side to side. But even with that play, it doesn't change too much. So I think everything is in there is pretty good. So we only have a few things left to finish on the trailer. It'll take some time, but as we finalize on what we want, we'll make those changes. So if you like videos like this, subscribe up here, watch more videos down here, and have a good day. Bye.